Does your partner ignore your successes? Do they forget that you had this big meeting, that you got this raise, that you're having this conference call? Or even worse, do they sometimes mock or belittle or even completely disrupt your personal or professional growth? If that is the case, it's not because they don't love you. It's because they're part of your system and they are threatened. And today I'm going to tell you what to do about it. Hi, my name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this is The Potential State. And today we're going to be talking about Own Your Shit 18. Stop waiting for your partner's approval. So I'm referring back to the systematic change episode. So go check that out. And what we're speaking about there is that the people in my life, my loved ones, my partner, my kids, my brothers, my parents, they're all part of my system. And there's a very gentle homeostasis, like an equilibrium, in which each one has their role. I have a certain role in this system. The second I try to create major change in the power dynamic, we call this a second order change. You can check that in the episode. What happens is the system kind of gets tense and tries to push me back to my old position. What does that actually mean? So when you're trying to create a massive professional, personal change that will change the whole balance of your marriage, of your relationship, your partner here is going to love it. But here in the body and the heart, they are used to a certain dynamic. So it's going to be hard for them to really change that, even if they really, really wish that. Now, I'm going to give you an example. My wife launched an amazing project called Mother Milk, empowering women through their feeding stories. Check it out, mothermilk.org. Even though here I love it, sometimes I find myself resisting, forgetting, even making it more difficult for her. Why? Not because I don't love her, not because I don't want her to succeed, but it's changing the balance. She's unilaterally changing the contract, and that is hard. And my advice to you is do not use the holy trinity of blocking. Do not get insulted, surprised, or disappointed when your partner does it. Just realize that your partner is being threatened, and he or she and they are trying to do the best they can. But sometimes it just comes out because specific historical roles are being changed. And I'm reminding you, you never get applause for second order change. You never get applause for major power dynamic shifts in your intimate relationships. In the long run, you will get appreciation, but in the short run, you're going to get ultimatums, ridicule, sarcasm, insult, psychosomatic symptoms, and such. I'm going to give you two quick examples and then what you can do about it. So this woman I was working with, her historical contract was she was a little girl and her husband was like the father figure. And when they had kids, he was super dad, and she was just trying to, make sure the house is nice and clean. And as she was trying to get empowered in therapy, she kept talking about him. She said, support me on this, okay? And he's like, of course, I want you strong, I want you powerful. But every time something happens, he would swoop in and save the day. Something in his body and his heart was resisting letting go of the super dad. Not because he didn't love his wife, but because he had too many secondary gains from the historic role. And she kept waiting, and she kept being disappointed that he's not supporting her. Where actually he did the best he could, but sometimes it's just hard. The system is not ready for second order change. We're creatures of habit. Or different example with this therapist I was training. Up until then, the historical contract was he was more of the homemaker, right? His wife was making big money outside, and as long as he was trying to become a therapist but not threatening the homeostasis, she was supportive. But the second he wanted to invest more time and more money in supervision and training, she would start jabbing, mocking, being sarcastic, because that's when it started threatening her. Now, luckily for him, he kept going. And he pursued his passion, and he was willing to withstand the difficulties. But that doesn't always happen. Many times we get disappointed, frustrated, and we just stop. We stop our journey. We don't ask for that raise. We don't go for that extra meeting. We don't go to that extra class. We don't go for that extra degree because we're disappointed at our partner. And then we blame them for not opening the door, for not celebrating us. But many times, sometimes that is true. But what I find more often is that here they support it, but it's just hard to change old habits. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So what can you do about it? First of all, realize in what areas in your relationship you're trying to create major change, whether it's personal, professional, your diet, whatever that is. If you're noticing more and more ridicule and resistance from your partner, there's a high probability either they're very aggressive or you're threatening, you're creating a second order change. You're starting to sniff at the deep disruption and destruction of the current historical contract. Breathe to yourself, realize that this is probably their way of signaling, hey, I'm scared, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to interact with you in this dynamic because you've shifted the power dynamic. Say to yourself, challenge accepted. Take a breath. Take a second as you're solid. Don't get angry or defensive and say, I see this is hard for you. And I'm here and I'm going to keep going and it's okay and I love you. Share with them this episode. Explain to them why you're doing this. Remind them you're doing this because you want to get bigger, not because you're trying to make them smaller, not because you want to leave them, but because you want to fully fulfill yourself in this one wildly crazy life that you have. Stay open, verbalize it. Give them a chance to share their feelings, where they're threatened, why they're scared or threatened or resistant or passive aggressive. A quick example, a couple I was working with once a few years ago, she was about to make more money than him. Her business was flowing and that's going to change the historical contract. That she was the little girl and he was the breadwinner. And it took us several sessions until he finally admitted and said, yes, I'm scared that you're going to make more money than me. And the second he could start verbalizing it, he stopped behaving it. He stopped acting it out. Like coming home late, not supporting her in her business, belittling her achievements. But what was underneath that was his fear that she will leave him once she will be more powerful than he is. And once you give them that chance, you give them that feedback, you let them own their shit if they're ready, you create your own cheering squad, led by you. You need to be your biggest cheerleader. And then find people that are outside of your system, people that are not threatened by your growth. It could be friends, a cousin, a therapist, a coach, a mentor, a colleague, anyone. And they're going to be your cheerleading squad as you go through the hurdles, not only of the actual challenge, but of the ricochets you're going to be getting from the people that love you the most. Remember, they love you. They're only resisting because you're changing the system. You're changing the balance. Do it trembling, but do it. Stop waiting for your partner's approval. My name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this was The Potential State. I'll see you next time.